Hey guys, this is Tom. Today I'm going to be showing you the best render settings for Sony Vegas. Sony Vegas 9, 10, 11, and 12. They all look a little bit different when you go to render, but they all use the same formats. So everything should may look a little bit different, but it's all the same stuff. So I use gosh, I don't even know what I use. 10? Yeah, I think I use 10. Oh, it says right there. Yeah, I use Sony Vegas 10. So 11 and 12 will look a little bit different, but it's basically the same thing, same concept. Alright, so here we have some jellyfish. I stole this. Well, I shouldn't say I stole it, but I got it from a video online. I think these look cool, so I thought it'd be cool for the tutorial. Sorry, I didn't really have an edit. There's really not a cool effect I could have put in the edit, but anyway, let's get started. So I think, alright, disabled resample. Alright, so first thing, we have our clip, we have our audio. I'm not using black bars or anything because they're already on there. We need to change our properties, so you want to do this before you actually start editing. You want to go to your properties. Sorry, it's just file, and then down at the bottom is properties. So there's a lot of options. Don't be scared of them though. A lot of them, I don't even know what a lot of them do. I'm just kidding, I know most of them do. Template, to start off with, we're going to be rendering for the internet, probably for YouTube. Most of you guys will be, unless you guys are like making movies or something, but I mean if you're making a movie you should know how to render anyway. So we're going to go all the way down to the bottom. HD 1080, that's full 1080p. 60i is 60 frames per second. Oh sorry, I messed that up. This one is 60 frames per second. 60i is just full HD. So that's our template. So full 1080p is 1920 by 1080. I render all my videos in 720p, which is 1280 by 720. It really just depends on, what you're doing. YouTube, I don't watch a lot of YouTube videos in 1080p. I'm sure a lot of people don't, so I just render in 720. But for the sake of the video, we're going to render in full HD, which is 1080p. So 1920 by 1080 is what I have my dimensions set as. The frame rate is super important. It's good to know your frame rate at all times. My camera, I have a Canon T3. It only records in 30 frames per second. So most of my projects are set to 30 frames per second, unless I'm doing like Call of Duty edit or something, which I rarely do. Those are usually 60 frames per second because that's what most PVRs render in. For this, I'm going to set it to 60 just because that's what most things are in. One thing to keep in mind though, when you're uploading to the internet, most internet sites only do 30 frames per second, so I would recommend just keeping that in mind, and changing your properties after you're done with an edit and going through and make sure everything looks okay in 30 frames per second. Sorry if I sound congested. I've had like mad allergies lately, and I can't even talk right now, and I sound stupid. Sorry. Stereoscopic 3D mode. Unless you're doing 3D effects and like Twitch effects, you usually want to have that off. It totally changes the project completely. Look at it, it took away all my color. So, we're just going to take that off. Pixel format is probably one of the most important, if not the most important, setting for your color. So 32-bit full range is basically every single color in existence. There's like a bajillion. That is the full range of color. 8-bit, I've rendered a couple videos in 8-bit just because I kind of like the way it looked, but I'll show you when I apply it. it makes it look really dull. So the black isn't as black as it could be. The white is like a chalk white. I mean, it looks really dull. I don't really like 8-bit. I've used it a couple times, but it's not a full range of color. Video levels, I think, is just awful. I think it's the ugliest thing ever. Don't use video levels. It's just bad. But we want full quality, so we're going to use all of our colors. So full HD. Don't mess with the gamma. Don't touch that. Full resolution rendering quality. While I edit, I have this set to good. Just because it makes the pre-rendering faster. But when you're ready to render, go ahead and set this to best. So I'm getting this ready to render, so I'm just going to set that to best. Motion blur type, Gaussian. I wouldn't mess with anything else. Gaussian blur is my best friend. I use it all the time. I keep this unboxed and start all projects with these settings. I mean, that's up to you. So I have my own template I use. Audio, I haven't really messed with this a lot. Sample rate set to 48,000. I know that much. Best quality stereo because it's coming out of just that. Apply. I'm not gonna mess with that other stuff. Okay, our properties are all set for the video to edit. Looks good. Nothing looks messed up or unproportional. So we say our edit's done now. We are ready to render. So I usually take these yellow triangles, and let's say I only want to render this much. Put the triangles where I want that, and that's how much it will render. But I want to get my full video and probably some black after it. So put it like that. Now before you render, you want to make sure everything looks good. Obviously, I usually put the triangles at the top, however long I want to render, and I go to the first frame. After that, usually you have this set to preview auto, so you can pre-render. But when you're ready to actually post your video on YouTube or whatever you're doing, go ahead and change this to best and full, because later on it'll ask you if you want to use the project settings. But it's always good to have everything set to best no matter what. So now we are actually ready to render. So we're going to go to File, up here at the top, whoops, and Render As, and then we're going to make a title, Jellyfish, and then you get some options here, lots of options. So I'll kind of touch on a little bit of them. WMV, Windows Media Video. A lot of people actually render in this, and I think it's awful, and it makes me just want to cry. WMV is a terrible format. It just looks terrible. It's awful. Most things when you download them are either in MP4 or WMV. I mean, unless you're using like Windows Movie Maker, you have no reason to render in WMV. I mean, you're a pro. You're using Sony Vegas, so I mean, deal with it. Don't use it. Wave, I mean, that's just audio. AVI, video for Windows AVI. AVI is the best rendering quality. However, for Sony Vegas, it does not work well. Unless you have something like 1,000 frames per second, you do not need to use AVI. You will get the same exact quality with the render settings I'm using. AVI is uncompressed video and audio, and it'll look great when you render it, but it's kind of hard to explain, but it'll be really slow because it's uncompressed. You can render a 10-second video for like 30 hours before it finally finishes. It's so ridiculous. So let's not use that. We're uploading to YouTube. Or I don't know. I'm sure everybody's uploading to YouTube. There's a couple of the formats up here. I'm not going to touch on those. Image sequence, JPEGs, PNGs, stuff like that. QuickTime, unless you're on a Mac, don't render in QuickTime. It's really not that great. The best settings for Sony Vegas is this guy right here, the Sony AVC MP4, M2TS, AVC, blah blah blah. This is actually made for Sony Vegas. I don't know if any other programs have it. I don't think they do. Call me a liar though. I have no idea. I mean, I only use Sony Vegas, so I've used After Effects like twice. But Sony AVC, perfect format for rendering. It's perfect for YouTube because you have the option for internet. So that's what we want. So this guy here, Sony AVC MP4, perfect. And then we're going to change our template. I usually have mine set to 1280 by 720 30p because I render in 720p. But our video is in 1080, so we're going to do 1920 by 1080 30p internet. There's options for like Blu-ray and stuff like that, but I mean, we're not going to be using that. Then we want to do these guys, render loop region only. So what that is that's why we did these. So that's how much I want to render. That's how much this guy's going to render. If I uncheck that, it's just going to do the entire file. We don't want that. That may be a long video, it may be short. It's really hard to say. Stretch video to output frame size. So it's going to make it 1920 by 1080. So it's going to take up my whole screen when I render it. Save project marker as a media file. I don't know what that means. I just check it, and that's just being honest. Sorry. Custom. So we're gonna change our settings around a little bit, make sure everything looks good before we actually render it, because we want it to look pretty. Again, uploading to the internet only goes in 30 frames per second. So NTSC. You can change it to 60, but it'll just error out and say, "Oh, I can't do that," and then it'll just go back down to 30. So just leave it like that. Our bitrate, all this stuff, just leave it the same. Honestly, it's not even important. You're not going to be able to tell the difference. So we're just going to go to audio. Our sample rate you want at 48,000. That's pretty basic. That's what everything usually is. Our bitrate for audio, however, is 192,000. That's full HD video or audio for HD video. So just set it there. Stereo, we're not using surround sound for YouTube. So system, just set that to MP4. Don't touch these other guys. And then our project, video render quality. We can use our project settings, which is set to best. Down there you can't see it, but we're just gonna set this to best just in case. I mean, it's really just for state of mind, I guess. Or I don't know, make you feel better. Stereoscopic 3D mode, there's no option for none, so we're just going to use project settings. And now we are ready to render. Sometimes I go back and double check my properties, make sure everything is good, save the file a couple times, and then I go and render again. But I'm going to go ahead and save this to my desktop, and I'll come back when it renders, and then I'll show the video to you. Alright, so our video is rendered. It's on my desktop now. I'll just go ahead and play it for you real quick. I'm not sure what that looks like because this screen capture is sometimes weird, but hopefully it'll look nice for you guys. If you guys have any questions at all, this is kind of a lot to take in, but eventually it just kind of becomes second nature once you do it after a while, and it usually comes out looking pretty nice. So if you have any questions, you can add me on Skype, you can personal message me on YouTube. I'm constantly checking my inbox. Don't be scared to message me. I seriously reply to every single person. I try to do that on comments too. So if you guys have any questions, I mean, there's 1,000 different ways to get a hold of me. I mean, you can add me on Facebook. I don't care. I mean, my Facebook and Instagram is linked on my YouTube. So whatever you guys got to do, just leave me some feedback. Like the video if you guys enjoy these tutorials. I'm trying to get more subscribers, not because I just want attention, but because I want to help the community. I think everybody should be able to bring their ideas to life. So I mean, spread the word if you guys like my tutorials. I mean, I love helping people. So other than that, I think that's it. If I missed anything, let me know. I think I got everything though. Alright, I will leave this video in the download in the description below if you'd like. Well, yeah, I'll put that in there. And I'll put the song in there too. The song's kind of weird, but